Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony DeQuano.
So, Tony, let's talk about Superman.
Let's talk about Superman.
Specifically, Superman 2.
More specifically,
the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Don't worry, folks. We will be talking about bits of the Lester cut also. Don't worry. So if you ended up watching the Richard Lester version, then you at least saw most of the movie that we're talking about.
yes, there's some key differences.
But yeah. So let's talk about the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. This movie was made available to the public in, I believe it was 2006.
2006, I think, is what I saw on IMDb.
Yeah. Along with it was only available at the time in the DVD anthology
the whole
set.
The whole anthology.
That came in the tin and everything.
Probably would have been around 2006. They were probably doing that leading towards Superman Returns.
Mm-hmm. No, it was after Superman Returns.
Okay.
I think it came out in the fall of... No, wait. No, wait. Maybe it did come out in some... I don't remember when in the year it came out. It was before or after Superman Returns.
Either.
But it was after Superman Returns because the anthology included Superman Returns, the DVD.
That's right. I remember
after
that.
Superman Returns.
The giant case.
Yeah.
Was still tin silver case that had 1, 2, 3, and 4 Quests for Peace.
Yes. And then Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
It also had the entire Fleischer cartoon. It had the Donner cut. It had Superman and the Mole Men. It had every except for the Adventures of Superman show, the George Reeves show. It had just about every version of Superman that's been on screen. Now, it did have a George Reeves the movie. It had Superman and the Mole Men.
All right.
But
that's right. It did have that.
Yeah. I remember I bought that set the day it came out. Bought it on release day. That was when you could get all that for $75 on DVD.
Yep.
It's crazy. But
now, I shouldn't say this cut. There had been fan created cuts that wanted the Donner footage, which they had pieced together from other international cuts and all that. Much like the kind of how now you could buy bootlegs of the original release of Star Wars, right? You could, people would sell them at cons, or people would, trade them online.
Yeah.
You could rip them. But this was finally an authorized release of Donner's cut.
Yes. An official studio release of Donner's cut. Now, a little background on this cut, on this version of the movie. So, Richard Donner, he, of course, directed Superman 1. And then he also was set to direct Superman 2. He was directing 1 and 2 at the same time. So they were filming both movies simultaneously.
They were doing it exactly simultaneously.
And so he got about 75% through with 2. And then he had a falling out with the Salkinds. And they fired him and brought in Richard Lester to finish the movie.
And Lester had done some work on some second unit work and was advising at different things. So he was already kind of involved with the movie. But so since he was kind of already involved, they brought him in to kind of reshoot some of the scenes and then film some new stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my understanding is that some of the actors Gene Hackman had already filmed all the scenes for both movies.
Yeah. Yeah, so which is why the Donner cut actually has more Gene Hackman in it than the Lester cut does. Because a lot of, when Lester took over, a lot of Lex Luthor's scenes were cut. The ones that were already filmed were cut to, go along with what he had added to the movie, with what Lester had added. And so...
Yes. Now... And so I know, in particular, some of the stuff was completely rearranged. In particular, or at least also excised. And one of the big parts of that was Marlon Brando.
Yes.
And he had requested for more money, and the producers didn't want to do that, so they essentially cut out all his scenes for this. And part of the delay on the actual studio cut was that they had to wait until his death for his family to actually give the okay to actually use his likeness again within the movie. His estate had to approve it. And so it was after that when they finally went ahead with that studio version of it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the major differences. He actually, Marlon Brando actually has a fairly big role in the Donner version.
A very big role. Yes.
And another huge difference is Lester's version is more comedic, whereas Donner, he tried to maintain a lot of the feel from the first movie.
And particularly at the climactic scene with Superman battling our villains in Metropolis. They're having a big fight. We'll get to it. They're having a big fight, and he's adding it. It's almost slapstick.
Yeah,
how Lester films it.
Yeah, that's not to say that there's not funny moments, humorous moments in the Donner version, because he definitely does inject a decent amount of humor to it, but it's not the same kind of humor.
Gene Hackman's hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not the same type of humor. Gene Hackman's just witty.
Yeah.
He does it.
Gene Hackman's Gene Hackman.
Yes. And I think Donner with both Superman 1, Superman 2 does a very good job of kind of giving it a very big comic type of feeling, and kind of there's some camp within it, but he's also serious.
Yes.
Which we discussed when we did Superman the movie last summer.
Yeah. Yeah, so it definitely, he succeeded in keeping the same feel throughout. So if you watch like the movies back to back, it's a little bit more of a continuous story between Superman the movie and the Donner cut of Superman 2, whereas you kind of have that just because of that whole just shift to a more comedic tone. It's more of a blatant, these are two completely different, maybe not completely different, but two different movies.
Yes.
If you're to watch them back to back on the with the lesser version.
And I think again, we can get into some of the specifics later, but about the actual movie and the plot. You take a look at kind of the beginning of the movie, where there's they're very our villains are very menacing.
Yes.
Right. And when you compare it to kind of what you see at the end with the climax, you lose it.
Yeah.
And it's important because Terrence Stamp is
Terrence Stamp
fantastic.
He's incredible in this movie.
I had to laugh because I was reading an article earlier today. I won't mention the website's name, but it was like 10 actors you forgot were in comic book movies. and one of the names was Terrence Stamp. I'm like, who doesn't know Terrence Stamp played Zod?
Forgot that he was Zod. Who forgot that Terrence Stamp was Zod? He's so iconic in that role.
Like, he'd almost be better off on the list of actors in comic book movies that you didn't realize have prolific careers.
Yes. Yes. That would be a much better list for him.
Because, yeah, I mean, so iconic. And as you said, like, you know, he holds his own with Gene Hackman, who, again, as we talked about in the, you know, Superman the movie last summer, is such an underrated role of his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's just, yeah, at least in terms of movies, I don't think he's been topped yet. No offense to Jesse Eisenberg or Kevin Spacey.
Or Nicholas Hoult. I mean, we haven't seen that movie yet. That hasn't come out yet. So we'll see how he is when he...
Which apparently he auditioned for the role of Superman also.
Yeah, he did.
And then, but during his, you know, this testing session, right? His casting session, they thought would be so much more appropriate as Luthor.
Yeah.
And they didn't think they had the right Lois to match with him, to have the right chemistry between Clark and Lois. Anyway, enough about that, because that movie we will be doing that movie.
Yes, we will.
Very soon.
I really think the only actor to do Lex Luthor that really comes close to Gene Hackman is Michael Rosenbaum with Smallville.
Absolutely.
But he also had a lot more time with the role.
He had a lot more time to really...
He had years with the role.
Yes. He did. And you get this, you know, it's the evolution of the character, whereas Gene Hackman's is just Luthor to begin with.
Yeah. Gene Hackman's already, you know, full-fledged Luthor. Rosenbaum had to, you know, he had to go through that whole arc.
Yes. In the beginning of the movie, he's actually very, very likable. In the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not, you know, we can talk about Smallville if we need to, but yeah. And then I guess what? I mean, there was other concepts that I guess the producers had for certain scenes that I guess never fully happened.
Yeah.
But there's other small differences, particularly like at, you know, the Niagara Falls. You know, we can discuss that when we get there.
We can get there.
And some other things that were taken out.
Yeah.
As well.
So
we can get to.
Basically,
and the ending is different too.
The ending is different. The ending is actually, I mean, we'll get to it, but we'll talk about that when we get to the ending of it. So, but yeah, basically, so 75% roughly of this movie was complete by Donner. So when they were bringing back the Donner cut, they had to find a way to fill in that extra 25% to get it to 100% complete. So what they did was a mixture of screen tests for various scenes and, well, screen tests / audition type tests. Then also using some of Lester's footage.
Yes.
So there's still some of Richard Lester's stuff that's still in the movie. But the vast majority of it is Richard Donner's filming of it, his directing of it. So, and I honestly prefer this version to the Lester version.
I would agree. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen the Lester version.
I love the Lester version. Don't get me wrong, but I prefer the Donner cut. For, again, a lot of the reasons that we've talked about. It's a little bit less comedic version, just to be comedic. You know, it's a lot. The tone is very similar to the first Superman movie.
Yes. And I mean, the thing you need to remember too is that a lot of the Lester version was stuff from Donner's cut.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, and this new stuff is added, and they removed most of the Lester's, original stuff. Mm-hmm. They removed most of that, right? So,
yeah.
By and large, a lot of his, it's
like the movie really is the minor inconvenience. Especially removing that minor inconvenience during the Fortress of Solitude battle that we'll get to. We'll get to that.
that was we'll get to that. That can wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to recall. Like it's, I remember, we watched the Lester Cut a couple times because, obviously the Donner Cut wasn't available yet. So that's what we would watch. Was the Lester one. I must have watched it at least once with my parents. So, and it was good, but yeah, it had, obvious moments like we've talked about that you could easily kind of just chuckle at how corny and cheesy it was.
I mean, like I said in our Superman the movie episode last summer, that movie Superman was basically on repeat in my house.
Yeah.
Right. I watched it over and over and over. Right. I love that movie. And Superman 2, the Lester cut of Superman 2, really, it wasn't much different. I watched that one all the time, too. I didn't watch it quite as often as the first one, but I still watched it quite a bit.
Right. Well, I look back, I was looking on IMDb and Wikipedia and linking to, they were linking to Rotten Tomatoes. And obviously, again, this was a massive hit in 1981. And both critics and audiences really liked it. A lot of critics put it on par with it. Some a little bit, below Superman the movie, some above. So, and again, it was a top. I think it was. I had it up earlier. I think it was the third highest grossing movie, at least in North America, in 1981. Because the film strategy for this one was interesting, right? So it's an American-made movie. But it was released in Australia in December of 1980. And they wanted to stagger the release. And they waited until the summer of 81 to release it to the United States.
Okay.
So, it had already been out like 6 months by the time it was released in the US. Which is why it's a summer blockbuster.
Yes.
Now, for Australia, it's I guess technically a summer blockbuster too. But yeah, so it was the number one movie that year was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the number two movie that year I think was On Golden Pond with all the Fondas.
All of them.
Literally all of them.
Every of the Fondas.
Well, maybe not Peter Fonda. Is Peter Fonda in it? I don't think Peter Fonda's on Golden Pond.
Well, I mean, there's got to be one to, be able to tell the tale. You got to be one left out to tell the tale.
Yeah, Raiders, On Golden Pond, Superman 2, Arthur, Stripes, Cannonball Run, Chariots of Fire, For Your Eyes Only, The Four Seasons, and Time Bandits. That's your top 10 in 1981.
Time Bandits was a good movie. We should do that one sometime.
Yes, we should do that one sometime. And Terry Gilliam, come on.
Yeah.
We could do a lot of Terry Gilliam movies.
Yes.
So, if there's a Terry Gilliam movie you want us to do first, drop us a note.
Yeah, let us know.
But yeah, it was I don't think I watched it a lot as a kid. Even really the first Superman movie, to be honest. I'd seen it a couple times. And Christopher Reeve is obviously a huge name. And as we talked about last summer, I mean, it's basically he became associated with Superman.
Yeah.
Right. Even though he kind of went to some smaller, dramatic kind of independent type roles, especially with like James Ivory, which kind of actually fit him because he was kind of a stage type actor before Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of reverted back to that instead of trying to recapture the blockbusters. But I think after he was injured and with the horse, like that kind of even cemented him further as Superman. Yeah. The irony of it, right?
Yeah. Now, here's just a little aside here. If you want to check out an excellent documentary, that Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, that was just released within the last year. I've heard it's very good. Just released a few months ago. It is amazing. Like it focuses more on his life after the accident, but it does talk about some stuff before. It talks about Superman, some of his other smaller roles, but it's mostly what he was able to accomplish after the accident. Okay. But no, it is just incredible. It's
that's what I've heard, that that's very good. Yes. I didn't realize Christopher Reeve was in Street Smart with Morgan Freeman.
Oh, was he? That was Morgan Freeman's first movie, wasn't it? Or one of them, at least.
His first Oscar nomination for his big role. Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
That is correct.
Well, maybe it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it wasn't his first. Maybe it was his first Oscar nomination, but not his first movie. It was earlier in his career. I know that.
Yes, it was before he drove Miss Daisy.
Yes.
I think Red shows up in this movie, by the way.
I think so. I think he does.
We'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
I was thinking that this is interesting. That I think we've done a few superhero movies, obviously.
And Red seems to show up in a lot of them.
Yes.
Either Red or Andy Dufresne.
Yes. I don't think Andy's in this one.
No, I don't think there's any pneumatic tube systems in this one.
No.
So,
we've done a lot of sequels. Most of the sequels we've done have been actually part of series, right?
Yeah.
I think the only other one that we've kind of done separately was Twister and Twisters.
Yep.
Which is a very loose sequel.
Yes, very loose. But I mean, we did do, we didn't do all of the John Wick movies.
We've not done all the John Wick movies. Yeah,
So we did the first two. We're going to be doing the first two, third and fourth at a later date.
Take a little break. But we're going to do when we'll do it, no one knows. But you'll be the first to find out.
Yep. But yeah, so this is one of those times when, we did the first one last summer. We're doing the second one this summer.
Which is perfect because there's a new Superman movie coming out.
Yep.
So, which is going to be kind of confusing because you have Superman the movie, and now you're just going to have Superman.
Mm-hmm. Which was originally supposed to be called Superman Legacy.
Which I'm glad that they've gone with just a clean title.
Me too. And it's surprising that they were going to go with Superman Legacy because evidently James Gunn hates the name of the hero, then colon, and then another word.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
So
it is a little annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I have to say before we get into it.
Let's get into it. So, as always, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about this entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So, if you have not seen it, pause the podcast, watch the movie, and come back and listen. If you have seen it or you just don't mind being spoiled, then keep on listening. But you have been warned, this movie will be spoiled. And, I mean, even though this movie is readily available to view, there's a chance that maybe you haven't seen this version of it.
Right. Maybe all you've seen is the Lester version.
Because, I mean, it is a lot more widely available now than it was back when it came out in 2006.
And if all you've seen is the Donner cut, we're going to talk about some of the Lester stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to spoil some of that.
Yes, we will be talking about mostly it's mostly going to be the Donner cut, of course, but we are going to be bringing up some of the Lester stuff. So we will sort of be comparing some of the scenes, some of the differences between the two.
The major differences, yes.
So if you watched the Lester cut and did not watch the Donner cut, then we'll still be talking about some stuff that you saw.
That's right. But, I like it starts with the Fortress of Solitude.
Yes. So, like, the first 15 or so minutes of this movie is essentially a recap.
It's basically a previously on.
Yeah. It's basically a previously on Superman. Yeah. So, it's a recap of, the major points of Superman the movie. Whereas in the Lester version, you have the whole thing with Lois in Paris and the bomb on the Eiffel Tower.
Yes.
And so we can sort of skim through, the whole previously on part is, it's a recap.
And it mostly takes from the main events of Superman. And at the end of it, it goes back to the beginning of Superman the movie, where you get the trial of Zod.
Yes. So
Krypton.
Yes. So we start out. Yeah. It's even before the recap, really. We get the recap of the trial, but we get a little bit more to it also before it starts with the recap of the events with Superman. But we get, the Zod, Ursa, and Non, their trial. We have the whole guilty. And then they get
the vote must be unanimous, Jor-El.
And then he just taps his little wand. He taps his walking stick. And the Phantom Zone mirror thing comes floating over and
lean towards them. Yeah.
They get sucked into the Phantom Zone. And then it shows them flying through space. But here's where it's a little bit different from Superman the movie, because then we see Kal-El's spacecraft.
Yeah, you see it fly off after Krypton explodes.
And it sort of it's going in the same path as the Phantom Zone, and it sort of knocks it off its path. Knocks the Phantom Zone off of its path. So it ends up sort of following the pod. Following Kal-El's spacecraft to a certain extent. So it goes through the wormhole and all that in order to get to our galaxy.
Yes.
And so then it goes into, the recap of the major events with Superman and Lex Luthor. When Lex puts the kryptonite around his neck, and then Miss Tessmacher rescues him from the pool and all that. Then we get the rockets. We get those missiles.
Rockets
flying and
going into space and throwing the rocket.
Yeah, throwing the rocket into space. And that rocket then it shows it traveling through space from where Superman threw it, and it explodes. And the shockwave from that explosion, we have the Phantom Zone mirror thing flying through, and it gets hit by that shockwave, and it frees the three criminals.
Now, don't you think that, given all the technology, they would have constructed a better infinite prison than one that would be jarred loose from a shockwave of a missile?
But did the Kryptonians create the Phantom Zone?
Okay, yeah.
Or was it something that they just sort of, adopted?
Discovered. Yeah.
They discovered.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, this is a good place to put our criminals.
It's like, like in The Mummy, like the worst curse that could be incurred onto somebody, they inflicted it upon the scariest dude ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, why would he do that to the scariest dude ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
You should do that to the person that just cheats on your wife.
Yeah.
That has no desire for world domination.
Yeah.
But you're going to put an invincibility curse on him in case some see librarian named Rachel Wise decides to read a book.
Exactly.
To read a book with, even if Brendan Fraser tells her not to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's our Mummy episode, by the way.
Yes. If you want to hear all about that, then you can listen to our Mummy episode from last summer.
So they're loose, and they're kind of shaken up, and they're kind of like floating around a little bit in space.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're able to kind of course correct.
Yes.
They realize they can fly.
Now, real quick, before we get on to what happens next, let's go back into a little bit of the Lester version. Since there's no recap in the Lester version, it's a scene in Paris where Lois is sent on assignment and she's in the Eiffel Tower, or at least in the elevator in the Eiffel Tower, and there's a bomb. There's a hydrogen bomb. And Superman comes in,
of course,
gets the bomb, throws it off into space, and that's what explodes and releases the Phantom Zone convicts. So, if you look at it from, like, if you're watching Superman the movie and Superman 2 back to back, if you're watching the Lester version, then Superman just threw 2 bombs pretty much back to back into space.
Yes.
Whereas if you watch Superman and then the Donner cut, it's just showing you him throwing the same bomb out there again. So he really only threw one missile.
Right.
So it's not quite as redundant in the Donner cut.
I also think, given events later in the movie, I think having like Luthor intimately connected with the missile, is more appropriate. So, just kind of another just thought. Yeah, so you get the missile. They're released. They discover that they can fly. They just don't believe they can fly like Seal. They can fly.
Well, Seal isn't the one that believes he can fly. That's R. Kelly.
That's right. Seal has a kiss from a rose. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Seal likes making out with flowers.
R. Kelly has a whole other fetish.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that, though.
So now we cut back to Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
And we're outside the Daily Planet. And there's a very lovely fresh fruit stand set outside the Daily Planet with some very delicious looking watermelon.
Yes. Yes, very delicious looking watermelon.
And looks like to be a very hardworking proprietor of this fruit stand.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows that the people in this working here in this press office at the Daily Planet deserve fresh produce.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So, but then we get back up to the newsroom at the Daily Planet, right? And we see an article, and that Lois had just written, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talks about how Luthor has just been sentenced, right? And so now she's thinking about her next article, right? And she has also opened there with the article. There's a picture of Superman, right? Because Superman was responsible for saving California and the world from Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mastermind, right? And it says, pictures by Jimmy Olsen, right? And so she starts thinking, and she sees, Clark come in.
Mm-hmm. Clark's coming in. He's talking to Jimmy.
And then Lois, she's kind of staring at them. She stares down at the picture of Superman in the article. And she starts thinking. Like, oh. And
then she pulls out a marker.
He's never around when Superman is around, is he?
And so she pulls out a marker.
Disappears.
She starts drawing all over the picture of Superman in the paper. Draws glasses on him and a hat and a suit. She starts thinking, that looks a lot like Clark.
And the light bulbs go off. Like, she knows.
So here's another difference between the two versions. So in this one, right off the bat, Lois is starting to suspect. Lester let it kind of percolate a little bit before she really started wondering about Clark.
Good verb choice.
It was a little bit later in the movie that she really starts suspecting.
Yes.
Not a lot later in the movie, but a little bit later in the
before she can think too much about it, Perry White calls him into his office because he has an investigative feature he wants them to run on, to report on and investigate. It's essentially going to Niagara Falls. They're going to be a newlywed couple.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to investigate the newlywed hotel racket.
Yes, because
they're extorting the young couples.
Yes.
I kind of forgot about this, right? I don't think it is anymore, but that definitely used to be a popular spot for people to go on a honeymoon.
Yes, Niagara Falls.
I kind of forgot about that until I was watching the movie the other night.
Yeah, you don't really hear a whole lot about Niagara Falls anymore.
So, I've been to Niagara Falls.
I have not.
I've been there. It's impressive.
I have not been to Niagara Falls.
I think, obviously, newlyweds, you don't need a lot of other activities.
Yeah.
But there's not much else around Niagara Falls, unless you want to drive up to Toronto or spend time in Buffalo. So, anyway. And that she just starts
even before things in there. So she starts slipping things in there like,
oh, we could just fly on up there.
We just fly on up there,
soar back down. And Perry's like, great, we won't have to rent a car for you.
Yeah. And Clark, you look super today. Just throwing little things in there. And, Clark, of course, is trying to, not be obvious about being Superman. He's trying to shoot her down.
Oh, it's you're being ridiculous. Then she shows him the picture. He's like, you get the picture? He's like, oh, what you think? No, that's not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after their meeting with Perry, then Lois just flat out tells him that she thinks he's Superman.
It's like, and she just goes through the reasons,
mm-hmm.
right? It's like, oh yeah, it's all this and that, right? And they're still in Perry's office. They're not out in the main bullpen area, right? They're in his
mm-hmm.
office. And it's like, but Superman would never let me die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she opens the window. And she climbs out.
She's like, Lois, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're 30 stories up. And she just lets herself fall out the window. Trusting that Clark is going to turn into Superman and fly down and save her. Just like he did when she fell out of the helicopter in the first one.
Yes.
But no, he doesn't dive out the window after her.
No, he runs. He uses his super speed to run through the office to the elevator, and he blows up a girl's skirt.
Yep.
This just happens.
And then, so he runs down.
He gets down there. I guess he doesn't go to the elevator. He has to go down the steps.
Yes, he goes down the stairs.
The elevator would be confined to physics.
But yes.
So we had to go down the steps.
But he's able to run down the steps and, get onto the sidewalk a lot faster than she's falling. So, he gets down there because he's got super speed. He gets down there and he uses his super breath to slow her descent.
Slow her down.
And so...
and there's conveniently an awning right where she's falling.
There's an awning right where she's falling. And he slows her down.
It's enough. Rolled up. So he has to use his vision, his heat vision
to knock the latch loose. And the awning rolls out. And so he slows her down just enough with his super breath that when she hits the awning, she doesn't break through it and smack on the concrete below. She just bounces off the awning and lands
breaks
on
all the watermelons.
Fruit cart and breaks all the watermelons. Those perfectly arranged watermelons.
And by the time she hits the fruit, he's already back upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
he's not down there.
Exactly.
He's looking down there.
He's looking down from the window she just jumped out of. He's like, Lois, what did you just do? You could have killed yourself. That was a very stupid thing you did.
She's like, what? You would think later when, spoiler alert, when she does get official confirmation, she would have slapped him for You mean you let me actually fall out of the window and fall and ruin my nice dress?
I mean, in his defense, spoiler alert, she did make him think that she was going to shoot him. So
we'll get to that.
Yes, we will get to that. So it kind of evens out.
So we cut to the next scene. We're in the prison. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got Gene Hackman and Ned Beatty, right? Yep. And
Lex Luthor and Otis.
Lex and Otis somehow are in the same prison together and working together in the laundry together.
Yep.
Right? And they got like the classic black and white prison jumpsuit on. I like it.
Yeah. Yep.
And now we find out from one of the guards in there that they got life plus 25. Right? And Lex just keeps monologuing during this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they slowly move over and start putting some of the clothes in. They get washed. And it's like
Lex pulls out the underwear. He's
Superman.
Like, so
this,
what's the bet?
So it's come back at the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And he talks about how, he talks about how Superman always flies north. And how every man
because he has
at least one vulnerability.
Yes, because he's developed a detector that detects alpha waves. And when Superman flies, he releases alpha waves. When he developed
this alpha detector,
I don't know. That's where Red comes in. Red must have gotten him either the parts to make it, or he got him
somehow.
Yeah, or Red got him just the device.
Helped get him the parts or whatever it was. Red's responsible for all of this.
Yes. So
Red's also responsible for the little black box with the projector as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no Andy building tunnels for one Lex Luthor.
No. Andy wouldn't do that for Lex.
No. So he's going to detect the alpha waves to find out where Superman kind of goes when he goes north.
Yeah, because all he knows is he flies north all the time. So this is when they're walking away. This is when he pulls the underwear out of the washing machine. He's like
Fogelstein's a bedwetter.
Fogelstein's a bedwetter, and then hands it to Otis, and Otis thinks he's supposed to pass that on to the next guy.
And he just says, Fogelstein's a
bedwetter. Pass it on. And moves some clothes that are hanging up to dry, and Fogelstein's standing there.
There's this big guy.
He's looking very angry.
And it's And he's like, oh, sorry, Fogelstein.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed, I forget whose jumpsuit it was. I think it was Fogelstein's, and maybe it was Otis. It was 6969.
Awesome.
So now we are with Mission Command.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about Houston.
And they are talking to 3 astronauts that are on the moon.
On the moon.
Because
and they've been up there for 45 days.
A moon landing in 1980.
Yes.
So, so they've been up there for 45 days.
And they're saying 45 days, and like, oh, yeah, like nothing's been happening at this point. And they're just kind of saying, like, oh, yeah, even the general public kind of doesn't really even care at this point anymore, right?
But we got one guy in the lander, and then 2 of them are walking.
One's kind of walking around. The other's collecting samples. His name is Boris. So it's a dual Soviet.
Yes,
American.
So there's two American astronauts, one cosmonaut,
and there's one Russian. Yes.
So,
and the one that's in the pod is Nate. He is played by John Morton, who, if you're familiar with Empire Strikes Back, was Luke's gunner.
Yeah.
Dak.
Yes,
who unfortunately does not survive. He unfortunately does not survive in this. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So technically, by the time we get to the end, That's getting ahead of ourselves.
So,
right. And so he's having a nice chat with Houston, and all of a sudden, he sees this woman just flying by the little window.
He's talking to Houston. He's talking to the controllers in Houston. In fact, he's talking not just to anybody, but he's talking to John Ratzenberger.
He is talking to John Ratzenberger.
He's talking to John Ratzenberger, who plays Controller Number 1.
Controller Number 1.
And so, speaking of Empire Strikes Back, John Ratzenberger was also in that. He had a small role in that at Echo Base. The same place where we saw Dak.
That's right. He knew that he would go on to be in tears in every Pixar movie.
Yeah. Well, almost every Pixar movie.
Pixar.
There's like one or so that he wasn't in.
But at this point, they put him in like all of them.
Yeah. But anyway, he's been in so many other things too.
And
so he's talking to John Ratzenberger.
A woman or a girl fly by the window.
Yeah, he's like, I think I just saw an unidentified flying object. And Ratzenberger's like, what? And, what does it look like? He's like, well, sir, it looks like a girl. And so Ratzenberger just thinks that he's hallucinating.
Like what?
Because he's been up there for too long with 2 other guys on the moon.
Reasonable assumption, but it's really Ursa, who I don't recall if we mentioned from the episode last year, but played by Sarah Douglas. She's going to have a much larger role.
I believe we did mention that last time, but it's always worth mentioning again.
So, but then, we cut outside and we cut to Boris first, right?
No.
Yeah, it's
not Boris first. Is it? No, it's not Boris first.
It's
Boris is second.
The other guy.
Boris is the one that Zod encounters.
That's right. So
the other guy.
And she's just thinking she thinks it's strange. Like, what type of creature are you? And he says, a man, right? And he's got his little mission, pin.
He's got his patch
on his suit.
He's got his patch on his suit.
And she basically just rips it off.
She just reaches over. She has this thing for patches and pins.
Patches and emblems and pins.
Things that you wear on your shirt.
Yes.
She reaches for the patch, and at first he tries to pull away, but she grabs it and just rips a hole in his spacesuit. And, takes the patch. And so his spacesuit, of course, blows up like a balloon.
Yep.
And
she kicks him off into space.
She kicks him off into space like a beach ball.
And then we get to Boris, and he's collecting rock samples.
He's collecting samples, and Zod comes up to him, and Boris has an air tube attached to his suit. And when he sees Zod come up, he gets scared and he's trying to escape. He's trying to get away from him. He's trying to run away, but Zod grabs that tube.
As one might do appropriately.
And he uses it to throw, or he pulls Boris in and then throws him into space. And as he's, floating away, Zod yanks on that tube off so that he can't use it as a tether. So now we have 2 guys that are just floating aimlessly in space for the rest of the movie.
Nate gets a little bit luckier.
Well, one of the 2 guys is clearly dead because there's a hole in his spacesuit.
Yes.
The other one is probably going to die soon because I would imagine oxygen was pumping through that tube.
Yes.
But they're just Nate, floating. They're floating out in space.
He's seeing this and he's trying to take off.
He is trying to take off.
And he's just like, Houston, 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 all this, right?
Though what I did notice, though, is when he's trying to take off, so they're on a lunar lander, right?
Yes.
And those, the legs typically stay on the moon. And the body of it is what lifts off of the legs. Yeah, now here, the whole thing was taking off, legs and all.
Right.
But, I mean, that's just a little... It's not really important to the story, but... Ursa and Nan come and grab the legs, and they hold it down, keep it from taking off.
And then you get... the Nan just starts crushing the thing from the top of it. Right? And Nan, played by Jacko Halloran. Right? And so, he just kind of crushes the entire pod, the lander, and that's that. And then, we have Houston, all of a sudden, like the video that was linking between the lander and, control, then just goes out. You just get the black and white static.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to make of that, right?
But because they were talking...
Artemis 2, by the way, is the name of the this mission.
Yes.
Right? Artemis 2.
Yeah. And because they were speaking to Houston, then Zod, Ursa, and Nan think that these people came from the planet Houston.
From planet Houston.
Yeah. From planet Houston.
Right. And they could see, I think they never show them looking at Earth from there, but I think they can see it, right?
I think they got the idea that they're from that planet right there. That must be Houston.
Zod kind of was able to deduce fairly quickly that being on, a solar system with one sun,
with a yellow sun,
it's not a red sun, it's a yellow sun. That has, with their molecular structure, has given them powers.
Yeah, because Zod's not an idiot.
No, he's very intelligent. He's super intelligent, right? And so they saw what they were able to do with men that come from Houston, and so they we can now rule.
Yeah,
right. And so they're gonna fly down to Earth, is what their plan is. So, I like how they also have both flags, an American flag and a Soviet flag, right? It's kind of an appropriate way to show that they are threats to the entire world. Right? Kind of a very simple way of doing it.
Yes.
So then the next thing we get is we're back in prison.
Yes, we're back in prison.
He's walking around and he's doing his whole lights out check. And he sees that Mr. Luther's lights are still on. He's like, lights out, Luther.
And he looks in there and he sees Lex and Otis playing chess. They're sitting there at the end of the bed playing chess. And he walks up. They don't respond. And he tells them, lights out. They don't respond. And then he takes another step forward and they disappear. And he turns around and there's this projector. This little black box up in the corner in the ceiling. And it's shining down that way.
That they obviously got from Red.
You see on his chest, yes, they obviously got from Red. But you see on his chest, you see Lex and Otis playing chess. And so then he moves away a little bit, and they appear, over at in the room again. So it's a very sophisticated hologram projector.
It's very
for the early 80s.
Again, greatest criminal mastermind. Access to Morgan Freeman.
I mean, Red can get you anything, even something from the future, apparently. So,
I mean, he was telling the truth to Andy back in 1945 or whatever year it was. He's the man that can get things.
Yep.
Sometimes just to work on it, but he'll get you those things. So now we get to this, we cut back to Luther and Otis, and they're gradually trying to make their escape. And we got a guy up in one of the guards is up in one of the towers, shining the spotlight, just making spanning the yard.
They're basically sneaking. They're sneaking across the yard, up against the wall, and you see the spotlight coming down. And
I mean, they're not being that subtle about this at all.
No, they are not.
The first part is like super sophisticated, and the rest of it, they're just winging.
Yeah.
On a hope and a prayer.
They're going, and all of a sudden the spotlight shines on them, and they freeze.
But they freeze.
They don't try to get out of the spotlight. They just freeze as if like it's a T-Rex and its vision is based on movement.
Well, except for when Otis gives Luther bunny ears.
Yes, except when Otis gives Luther bunny ears. But it's okay because the guard was distracted watching TV and didn't see them when they were right in the middle of the spotlight.
The other guard in the tower is watching TV, and so he's got the spotlight, and he turns around to see what's on, what the guy's watching on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So they move along.
Yeah.
And they're not even talking that quietly.
No.
They're trying to say, shh, shh, shh.
Yeah.
They're doing it loud.
Yeah. There's no way that these two wouldn't have gotten
is flying
a hot
helicopter.
Air balloon. No, a hot air balloon.
Also.
She's in a hot air balloon.
It's a hot air balloon, that's right.
That's just floating over the prison yard. And they walk out into the middle of the yard, and all of a sudden this rope ladder, drops down to him.
And he tells Otis, like, go out there, and grab it. It's like, well, what's it going to be? It's like, you know it when you see it.
You'll know when you see it. So he's out there, he's looking around, and this rope ladder falls on his head. And so, he holds the ladder while Luther climbs up. And then as Otis goes to try to climb up, apparently he's too heavy for this hot air balloon that typically carry multiple people that altogether would weigh more than Otis does. But Otis starts trying to climb the ladder, and he's just pulling the balloon down. And so Luther
drops the rope.
Drops the ladder and leaves Otis in prison. And that's the last we see of Otis.
This is enough to attract the attention of the guards. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing at this point, the other guard who discovered the empty cell was now appropriately alerted
to
proper channels.
I would imagine he would have. If he was doing his job, he would have. But yeah, so they come out there and they get Otis and take him back in.
And we don't see Otis again for the rest of the movie.
We don't see Otis again for the rest of the movie. Thankfully,
it's kind of too bad because
the rest of
I love
Ned
Betty. So, anyway.
Yeah, thankfully, it's only for the rest of the movie and not for the rest of his life. So, Luther and Miss Tessmacher are flying away in the hot air balloon because a hot air balloon is the perfect way to escape a prison.
I mean, they just discovered Otis on a thing, and there's this hot air balloon that's there.
Yeah,
they pretty might maybe just shoot at the they got rifles.
Yeah, maybe shoot a couple holes in the balloon, and then it'll slowly descend to the ground, and then they can go pick them up.
But no.
They just let them fly away.
Which fine.
And they fly north.
Yes.
Now, did they stop somewhere, or do they just keep on flying north?
Hey, he had to pee. I don't think they stopped anywhere.
I don't think so either, but that would mean that Miss Tessmacher brought clothes for him. And coats and all this. That would all be, I guess we didn't really get a good look at what was inside the basket on that hot air balloon. So there could have been, some bags with clothes and stuff like that in it. Sure. Fine. Whatever.
Sure. Totally.
But they fly to the North Pole. And there they see the Fortress of Solitude. And they make their way inside. They realize there's no front door. They just walk right in. And they find the console where you put the crystals. And learn quickly that the crystals control different aspects of the fortress.
Yes.
They put one of the crystals in, and all of a sudden, Jor-El appears.
It's Marlon Brando. And this is another difference now.
Yes. Because Marlon Brando, like we said before, was not in the Lester version. So, it's one of the training crystals that
yes,
that Clark went through when he was doing his training in the fortress. And Lex doesn't want to hear that one, so he has Tessmacher pass him another one, and so he puts that one in. He doesn't want to hear that one either. Finally, he gets to one he does want to hear.
Meanwhile, she still has to pee.
Yes, she still has to pee.
So the first thing she wants to know from Jor-El is, where's the
bathroom? Yes, but he won't answer that question. So,
but he gets intrigued because Jor-El starts talking about how their home planet also has some antisocial elements, or as you call them on Earth, criminals.
So that perks Lex's ears right up.
Yeah, he's thrilled.
And he's like, ooh, right? I want to hear this part.
So he starts, and Jor-El gives him a little brief history on Non, Ursa, and Zod.
And how they are pure evil. Zod is the worst of the three. Ursa and Non are two. So he's saying that Krypton has an amazing rehabilitation program, right?
But they could not be. That's right.
Criminals are rehabilitated without much issue, on Krypton, except these three individuals who could not be rehabilitated. They were so bad that they could not be rehabilitated. And they are Ursa, Non, and finally Zod, who is the only one that could wrangle these two.
Yeah. And then, he said that if they were to be on Earth, they would have the same powers as he would.
Yes.
Right?
As Superman
because, obviously they had the same, they're the same race, same species, I should say, not race, but species. Same type of creature. So, yeah, obviously, the sun would affect them the same way. But they would be three of them, as opposed to one of them.
Yes. So at this point, Miss Tessmacher is not with Lex. She disappeared. So Lex finishes listening.
She complained about there's too much white in there. Also, there's no bathroom. Maybe she's going to do some interior decorating. Yeah,
maybe. But so Lex finishes listening to what Jor-El has to say about the criminals, and then we hear a toilet flush. And from the other room, we hear Miss Tessmacher say, "Lex, I found it." So she finally got to pee.
Finally got to pee.
There are some comedic moments in the Donner cut.
Yes, there are.
They're not
I think
so big of comedic moments that they change the tone of the film.
Yes. So we get back to Lois and Clark, and they're
at Niagara Falls.
They have a Polaroid camera. I love it.
Lois is taking pictures,
and they're talking. And then you have you see one kid that's really leaning over.
He's leaning over he's standing on top. His parents
kind of chastise him.
He's standing on top of the railing. Yes. Not really leaning over. He's standing on it. And Clark sees him. He's like, son, I want to come off of there. And his mom grabs him, pulls him off of there. And,
that's right.
And smacks him.
This is 1981. 1980, I guess.
Yeah, they filmed it in like 79, 80.
Or 78. Yeah, that's right. Because it was.
Oh, yeah, I guess they would have filmed it in 77, 78. So, yeah.
But Lois and Clark, they get hungry, so they want to get hot dogs.
Yes, there's a hot dog stand not too far away, and so Clark decides he's going to go get them some hot dogs. And while he is gone, that same little boy is now on
doing the same damn thing
outside of the railing, like he's climbed over the railing and he's hanging off it. He's leaning back with one hand, letting go with that hand, and then grabbing on with the other hand, then letting go with that hand, grabbing on with the other hand.
Okay.
Basically just asking to fall down the falls. He's trying to change the name of Niagara Falls to
Timmy Falls. Sorry, Tim. First time I thought it was Timmy. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, in Lassie, Timmy's always fallen a well, so.
Hey, there you go. But
even though Timmy never fell in a well in Lassie.
No. Okay, so this kid, he's probably what, 10?
Yeah, 10, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
All right, so but at this time, we're just some kids. I mean, like, I know kids can be reckless now, but were kids just more reckless like that at one point?
Yeah.
We're like.
So anyway, needless to say, this kid loses his balance and he falls. He plummets down Niagara Falls. And so next thing you know, Clark is over getting hot dogs. He hears all the commotion, all the hullabaloo that's going on.
Of all the kids that happen to be near a gigantic waterfall and playing on a railing, or just any natural wonder, this kid happened to thankfully do it when Superman was there.
Yes. So Superman comes swooping down, grabs the kid, flies him back up, lands on the ground, and the kid's like all excited. He's like, again. And Superman's like, sorry, only one ride per customer. And then the kid's mom's pissed.
Yes.
She comes over, starts yelling at him, grabs him, pulls him away. You just know she's gonna, she's so happy that he's alive, so she can take him home and beat him to death.
Which, I mean, granted, if they were planning to go to the Grand Canyon next summer, maybe his thought would be the same thing at the Grand Canyon.
Maybe.
Because Superman just might come and save him again.
Which, again, is Lois's point after Clark comes back.
Yes.
Because, Superman flies away, and then Clark comes walking back with the hot dogs. And Lois is like, all right, good job saving that kid. He's like, what are you talking about, Lois? I was over getting hot dogs. He's like, well, when that kid fell, I looked over and you were nowhere near that hot dog stand. I couldn't see you. And then Superman showed up. So what's Superman doing in Niagara Falls? With all these kids all over the world that need help, why is he here at this place, the same place that Clark Kent is? Why isn't he at the Grand Canyon?
He'd be at the Empire State Building instead of throwing down a penny. The kid wants to jump off himself. Timmy fell down a well.
Yeah, but Lassie will save him there.
Kid's gonna stick his head inside an alligator. He's in the Everglades.
Yeah.
Kids,
if you live anywhere near the Everglades or anywhere in Florida or anywhere near alligators, don't stick your head in their mouths. It's never a good idea.
Don't slap a baboon's ass. Don't poke a rattlesnake in the eyes. No, don't do any of that stuff. Steve Irwin might have wanted to do that stuff. He might have been able to do that stuff, but he was also very skilled in handling those animals. Professional.
Yes. But so then, Clark is trying to, deny being Superman again. And then do we get the scene in the hotel? Oh, well, before we go on to the next scene, that this Niagara Falls part is different in the Lester cut. Because in Lester cut, then we have Lois once again trying to prove that Clark is Superman. Because in the Lester version, Niagara Falls is where she really starts suspecting. It wasn't back at the Daily Planet. So, and that scene with the window, with the Daily Planet, her jumping out the window, all that stuff, that was not in the Lester cut. Instead, that same sort of thing happens at Niagara Falls, where she lets herself fall into the water. And
Superman shows up.
So that Clark will save her. No, Superman does not show up.
That's right.
In the Lester version, she's getting washed down the river, and Clark is sort of running alongside because he can't reveal to her that he's Superman. So he sees a tree that's out there, and he uses his heat vision to blast one of the branches off the tree so that it falls right in front of her so she can hold on to it as a floaty.
Very reasonable.
Yeah, and then he runs down and, helps her get out of the water. So, very similar in, a similar manner of how he saved her when she fell out the window. Used his superpowers to the point where, he could use them without revealing that he was Superman. So, then do we get the hotel room, or do we go back to Zod, Ursa, and Non?
I think we get the quick scene of them where they land on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Right? They land in Houston,
this
Idaho.
Little shallow river.
They land in Houston, Idaho.
And right now you just have the two on the bank, and Zod lands kind of in the middle of the river. Yeah. And kind of off to the side, there's this guy fishing. He's in a little canoe. Mm-hmm. And it's the morning. He's sipping his coffee while he fishes, and he's watching all this. And
he sees three people about just, lower down from the sky. And it does that, the classic double take, right? Because he sees these three people flying down, and they land. Two of them land on the ground, and then one lands in the water.
And then the one that lands in the water starts walking on the water.
Yeah, he's like, wow, this is interesting terrain. They don't have water on Krypton? So anyway,
I think that's mostly what we see there.
Yeah, so he raises himself up so that he's walking on the water. And that's when the guy fishing, he's drinking his coffee. And he does a double take and then tosses his coffee to the side. He looks at the cup and
that's right. He tosses it out. Must be too strong. Mm-hmm. So I think it cuts off from there. Because there's a scene later with a snake, but I think in my notes here, so that doesn't happen yet. They cut back, cuts back later to Lois and Clark, and it's dinner time now, and Clark's coming into the room.
Yeah, so this is the main scene where they use that test footage.
Yes. So Lois comes out. She just got out of the shower. She's in a towel.
Mm-hmm. She's sitting down at a
Clark's
desk.
Trying not to be interested.
Yeah. So Clark walks in, and he's like,
oh, you shouldn't leave the door unlocked. No, especially after a shower, and
and you trying to get ready because we got to get to dinner.
He knows that Lois has a crush on Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but again, Lois keeps on trying to tell Clark that he's Superman, and he's like, Lois, I don't know why you keep on, thinking that I'm Superman. It's preposterous, and so Lois decides, okay, well, if you're Superman, then you'll be able to handle being shot. And she pulls out a revolver from the desk and she points it at him. And so he's like, Lois, are you sure you want to do this? Here, what are you doing?
It's like, I've never been more sure of anything in my life.
And she pulls the trigger, and he sort of freezes for a second and then stands up straight, takes his glasses off, and tells her, Lois, if you were wrong, Clark Kent would be dead right now.
It's such a perfect line delivery.
Yes.
It's this weird. I love the. I mean, Reeve is so good switching between.
Oh,
two.
absolutely.
And This line in particular, though, is somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Where now he's switching off kind of the disguise of both.
Yeah. And he's just revealing this
other part of him.
Because this is probably the most serious we've ever seen him. Yeah. He's pissed. Like, you can tell. You can see it in his eyes. He's like, Lois, what the hell did you just do? If you were wrong.
And then she just says.
Then she says, with a blank?
And he's like, oh, snap.
He's like, you got me.
But,
oh, you. And they laugh about it.
You silly Margot Kidder.
You silly Lois. You silly head.
That's not how it happens, though, in Lester's version.
No, it's not. In Lester's version, it's a different hotel room. You know, it's a much wider, a much bigger, more open hotel room. There's a big fireplace in the middle. Like one of those fireplaces, it's like a central column, and there's like couches and stuff around it and stuff. You can sit around it. And in there, she tosses something into the fire, and he goes to get it and ends up tripping and like landing in the fire and doesn't get burned.
Right. And that's the revelation.
Yeah, that's the revelation there.
He's Superman.
And so now the cat's out of the bag. And she knows that he's Superman. She has confirmation that he's Superman. He knows that she knows that he's Superman. And he doesn't have to hide it from her anymore. But still, with the whole, trying to shoot him thing, he got over that pretty quick.
Very quickly.
So,
I mean, we have another quick scene where we see the three, they encounter a snake, right?
And it bites Ursa.
And it bites her, and she gets angry, and
she uses her vision
to
burn it.
Melt its head.
Yeah. The whole snake just bursts into flames.
Oops, that was didn't mean to do that.
And then so then they go and they're like in this small town. Like
so they're earlier, it's on the road just outside town, and a sheriff's car with the sheriff and the deputy kind of drive up to them, and they're just standing in the road.
They're just standing in the road. And so the sheriff tells the deputy to go and find out who they are. And so he goes out there, and the sheriff gives him the shotgun. He's like, take this with you. And was it, did they stop the car? Like, I'm trying to remember if they, if they physically stopped it, and that's what made him send him out with the shotgun. Because there was a reason that he sent him with the shotgun. But anyway,
anyway, go on.
So they're talking to him and threatening him with the gun, and he and so Zod uses his heat vision and heats up the gun. So the deputy.
He has to drop it,
burns
right?
his hand, and he has to drop it. But when he lets go of it, Zod also uses telekinesis, which traditionally Superman and other Kryptonians don't have telekinesis.
No.
Now, in the Reign of the Supermen arc in the comics, after the death of Superman, Superboy that showed up there, he did have telekinesis. He had so basically he would be able to. He couldn't just like lift things with his mind and stuff like that, but he could form a telekinetic field around objects, and that's because he didn't actually have like super strength like Superman does, but that's how he would lift heavy things. Was he would project like a telekinetic field around the object, and he'd be able to lift it. That's also how he was able to fly, because he would project a telekinetic field around himself and fly. But anyway, that's, a different story. That's in the comics. But yeah, Superman himself in the comics doesn't really ever, there may have been, one or two, stories where he did, but traditionally it's not one of Superman's powers. But in the purposes of these movies, it is, apparently. Because Zod uses telekinesis to pull the shotgun toward himself, and he grabs it, but he's holding it backwards. And he's got his thumb on the trigger, and he pulls the trigger and shoots himself in the chest, but it does nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
It does nothing to him. So it doesn't even put a hole in his shirt.
No, it doesn't.
But then that's when the sheriff gets freaked out. And doesn't he try to pull away, but they shoot the car with their heat vision and blow it up?
Yes. Somehow,
at least blow up the engine compartment.
The deputy were able to retreat back into town. Yes. And this town is called East Houston.
Yes, Houston. Yes, East Houston, Idaho. But
one
before
of those towns that time has forgotten.
When the deputy first walked up to him, then Ursa saw his badge, and she, just like she did with the astronaut, she reached out and pulled his badge off of his shirt. And now for the rest of the movie, she's wearing his badge on one side, and she's wearing the astronaut patch on the other. She's just collecting pins and patches, and
those won't be the last.
Nope. So
now they're terrorizing the town, and the media's gotten there, and they're trying to find someone that can challenge them, right? Because they're not
doing that yet. So they haven't gotten to the town yet. Because after the sheriff and deputy scene, then we get back to Clark and Lois.
That's right. They fly up north.
Because they go up north to the Fortress of Solitude, because Clark wants to show Lois where he goes, where he spends his time.
Yes.
And so, they get there, and Lois is like, "Hey, do you live here?" And he's like, "No, I live."
That's all he wants to do.
I live in Metropolis, about 3 blocks from you.
I actually live about 3 blocks from you.
But this is where I
go when I need time. And
And so
he gets to meet his dad.
Yeah, he introduces her to Jor-El.
Gets to show her his room.
So yeah, I guess he doesn't introduce her to Jor-El yet, because they go and they do the Kryptonian polka.
Kryptonian catharsis.
Kryptonian catharsis. They reach emotional catharsis on a gigantic crystal bed.
I'm not sure how that works. Especially with how's Lois protected?
Well, there's a big, looks like a huge soft mattress on this bed.
Okay.
So
Kryptonians sleep on that. I guess
the bed itself, the bed frame itself, is made of like crystals and stuff. But it looks like it has a big fluffy mattress and pillows and stuff like that. So
still not certain about the other logistics of the polka.
Yeah, but apparently Kryptonians are anatomically the same as humans, at least on the outside.
But I still wonder about other.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so, and there are slight differences here from the Lester version. This does also happen in the Lester version, but it happens a little bit later in the Lester version. So they reach emotional catharsis, and then he decides he's going to introduce her to his dad, because he wanted to have sex with a human before introducing her to his father and having him say, "Why did you have sex with a human?" Or, "I forbid you from having sex with a human." It's like, too late.
That's a terrible idea, son. You can't have connection to these people.
So anyway, so he's talking to Jor-El, and I guess he doesn't realize that she's watching this whole conversation, because he's asking Jor-El,
That's right. He's alone at first.
I have feelings for this woman, for this human. And Jor-El is like, well, you weren't there to care about one human. You were there to care about all of them, to protect all of them. He's like, but I want to be with this one. And I don't really understand the reasoning behind this part, though, because Jor-El tells him, well, if you want to be with a human, you got to give up your powers and you got to become a human. You got to become like them.
Doesn't make any sense.
You want to be like them. If you want to be with them, you got to become like them and give up your powers. And there's this chamber that, appears. It raises up out of the ground.
It gives like the radiation of a red sun.
And Jor-El explains that this chamber, when you go in there and activate it, then, the radiation of a red sun comes in and it takes away your powers forever. There's no reversing it. There's no going back. So if this is really what you want to do, then there's your options,
He's just teaching us on a lesson, ultimately. As we'll get to later.
Yes.
But then, Lois ends up being behind us and seeing this, and she's just wearing a little Superman t-shirt, essentially.
Yeah. And so, she is wearing a blue Superman t-shirt. It's got the Superman symbol on it, and not wearing any pants.
Just enough to go right below her waist.
Yeah, well, right below, her areas down there, her privates down there.
Her lady bits.
So her lady bits. But yeah, so there's another where it's different than the Lester version because, again, Jor-El was not in the Lester version. So this scene gives a lot better reasoning behind Clark's decision to give up his powers. In the Lester version, he kind of just, hey, look, here's this chamber. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to give up my powers. But in the Donner cut, then it actually has this conversation with Jor-El. And it explains, why he's giving them up. So Clark goes into the chamber, activates it. You see him sort of cringe in pain, in there, or what looks to be pain. Then he comes out and he doesn't have his powers anymore. And Lois, having seen all this, realizes what he just gave up for her.
She loves him. She also loves Superman, so it's a tough balance. She's more infatuated with Superman, I should say, than actually in love with Superman, as opposed to being in love with Clark, I guess. But now they're going to leave the fortress because there's no need now. He doesn't have powers.
Yep.
Good thing there's no self-destruct.
But also after he gives up his powers, then the console blows up.
The console does blow up. The whole fortress doesn't.
No,
but the console does.
The control console blows up because Jor-El had said, once you do this, if you do this, then I can't help you anymore. And so the console that controls everything.
Jor-El's very conservative. He doesn't want his Kryptonian son mixing with an Earthling.
Yeah.
No interracial marriage here. No. That's what it is.
I mean, he's.
It's like my big fat Greek wedding.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? You're supposed to marry a Greek.
Yeah, you're supposed to be marrying a Greek. But
supposed to marry a Kryptonian.
Yep. So he's like, you're supposed to be marrying a Kryptonian. And Clark's like, well, the only other Kryptonian is Ursa, and I don't like her. Because at this point, he doesn't know about Supergirl, who is also his cousin, so that wouldn't really, fly. So he's like, my choices of Kryptonians are either my cousin or this criminal.
I mean, there is Zod.
But anyway, so they leave, and then how'd they get a car? Did they rent a car?
I don't know.
Does Clark have a car at the fortress? Because they're driving down to this diner.
And the thing is, like later, as we find out later, he has to walk. Right?
Yeah.
I guess, Lois has to take the car back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, so they get out to this diner because they're hungry. They need to take a break. And they walk in, and Lois sits down at the end of the bar, and Clark goes to the bathroom to clean up, to wash up a little bit. And this trucker comes walking in. And everybody at the diner knows this trucker. He's a regular there.
He's a regular, but not regular you like.
No, he's a regular, but yeah, he's a dick.
He's like Seabass.
Yeah, he's like Seabass, exactly.
Put up with him being a regular.
Yeah, you put up with him there, but nobody really likes him around there. He's just a jerk. He's an asshole. So he walks in, and he orders his steak and eggs, and he sees Lois sitting down at the end of the bar.
Lois is sitting at the end of the bar, right? So you got the full bar, and then you maybe had 2 seats that go around on the other side.
Yeah,
right. But she's at the end of the long main section of the bar,
and so he goes and he sits down right next to Lois, and he's sort of trying to chat her up a little bit. And then Clark comes walking out of the bathroom.
So
Clark comes walking out of the bathroom, and Lois is like, this seat's reserved, this seat's saved, and he's like, this seat's saved for somebody. He's like, yeah, me.
This seat's taken.
And so he's like,
taken.
Like, taken. Well, yep, somebody's sitting here now. I am. And so Clark comes out, and he's like, excuse me, sir, I believe you're in my seat. And the trucker kind of brushes him off, and he's like, sir, I believe you're in my seat. And the guy calls him Four Eyes. That nasty insult for somebody wearing glasses. And so then Clark's like, well, excuse me, sir, would you like to step outside? and the trucker's like, what did you say? He's like, excuse me, sir, would you like to step outside? And so the guy stands up, and he punches Clark in the stomach, and it hurts.
No more power.
And Lois is telling Clark, back off, it's okay. And Clark, he's trying to defend her honor.
Yes.
But he doesn't have his superpowers anymore, so apparently he never actually learned how to fight without powers. So the guy just beats the crap out of him. He hits him a few more times, knocks him over, breaks the table. No more table.
Where you going, Cobb?
So in order to try to, now that there's this big commotion in the diner, and so the lady behind the bar, she's trying to calm everybody down a little bit. So she's like, hey, I'll turn on the tube for you. And she turns on the TV, and it's the news. And it's talking about... That's
where you see the scene in Idaho.
This is where you see the scene in Idaho.
East Houston, Idaho.
So it's got the newscaster who's on there, who, by the way, this newscaster, this anchor that's there, the reporter that's there reporting, this man is played by Richard Leparmentier.
Okay.
Who also, since we were talking about Star Wars earlier, he also played Admiral Motti in A New Hope, the one who gets force choked by Darth Vader in their whole conference room at the beginning of the movie in the Death Star. Who then Grand Moff Tarkin tells Vader to let him go.
Yes.
Yeah. So same actor. And by the way, also speaking of Star Wars, real quick. So we didn't mention already before that John Williams did the score for this movie. Which,
yes.
I mean, he did. We talked about it to extent when we talked about Superman the
movie. Yes.
But yeah, he continued to do the score for Superman 2. And this movie in particular. So we've done several John Williams movies.
We did one last week.
Yes, we did. And, his scores are typically, there's, the little things that, are the little similarities between the scores that he does, it's just basically his stamp that he puts on it, right? You can tell it's a John Williams score. This movie, a lot of the music in this movie is very reminiscent of Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
Like, to the point where it's almost interchangeable with some of the score from Star Wars. Like, you could take from this movie, put it in Star Wars, take Star Wars, put it in this one, and it would more or less, fit the same in the scenes. Which, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I love John Williams music.
I do too.
It's just I noticed some very, very heavy similarities between the two scores this time around. But anyway, so yeah, this is when we have Zod on TV. He's asking who. Well, this is where it sort of cuts. Well, Zod is talking on the news, and Clark sees it, and he's like, "Oh, what have I done? Here's these three criminals that my dad told me all about.
They've destroyed this little town,
and now I don't have my powers."
And so, we get scenes where Zod finally like, there's no one that can stop us.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of cuts from there, and it goes strictly back to like Idaho.
Well, first there's it cuts from the diner and goes to Idaho. Yes,
and there's it's like National Guardsmen that are there.
Mm-hmm. There's a general.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I listen. I only listen to. Well, Zod's doing his whole thing.
Zod walks up to
kneel
him
before
like,
Zod.
So you're a general, and he grabs his
general stars.
He grabs the stars on his shoulder and rips them off of his jacket. And he's like, "So you're a general, huh?" And he tosses it. He's like,
he just tosses it on the ground.
"Who do you serve?" And he's like, "I report only to the president."
So he wants to meet this president.
He wants to meet this president and make him kneel before Zod.
And so what I don't get is that we get a scene there when they're in the White House, and there's some army guys there or whatever, and they're outside the West Wing, or they're outside the Oval Office,
and
they're still trying to shoot these people.
Yeah,
I don't get what they think is going to happen this time.
Yeah, I mean they're not just trying to shoot him with guns; they have a bazooka. It does nothing.
And they're finally able to force their way through. They get into the Oval Office. It's kind of one of those scenes, like, they're asking for the particular person. Like, Die Hard. It's like, Joseph Takagi.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yoshinobu
it's like they want to know who the
Takagi.
president is. And you have all these, like, the Joint Chief of Staff and these other like cabinet members, and they're all like kind of in like a circle. This one guy comes out.
There was one guy sitting at the desk at the Resolute desk.
So there's one guy sitting at the desk.
And
that's right.
You would imagine.
You're led to believe this is the president.
Yes. So they come
and
in.
He comes out and he kneels before Zod.
And so he's like, "I'm the president," and he walks out and he's like, "Kneel before Zod," and without missing a beat, he just kneels. And then Zod knows,
what kind of weak leader would kneel so quickly before another.
Exactly. And so then the president, announces himself. He's sort of behind a couple of the bodyguards and Secret Service agents and stuff there. And so Zod's like, "Kneel before Zod." And the president's like, "Well, I'll kneel before you if you can promise me that you'll spare the lives of everyone in here. And so, he's walking up to Zod so that he can, kneel, and he mentions that, Superman will never let him rule. Superman will stop him. So this is the first that Zod has heard of Superman. And at the moment, there is no Superman because Clark has given up his powers. But the rest of the world doesn't know that. So then
there's a scene though where he tells Superman to come to him. Is that when in Idaho? I guess.
No, I think Superman is like, if there's anyone out there that thinks they can
that's right.
face me.
And then he's able to do it while he's in the Oval Office.
Yeah,
that's right.
He doesn't actually find out about Superman until the Oval Office.
He's able to get the media to broadcast it out, and he's able to still see that. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's when. So because there's news cameras and stuff in there in the Oval Office. Right.
Too. So we get a scene there that they're all out of there, and now it's just the three Kryptonians just there in the Oval Office, and they get a little white handkerchief. Yep.
A white handkerchief in the doorway, and it's Lex Luthor, and he walks in, and they don't even notice him at first.
Lex, booby,
Zod, booby.
It's not about what I want;
it's what I can give you.
We're both businessmen here. I see. You want something.
You got a guy, making things difficult for you. I can give them to you.
But essentially, they're threatening to kill him right away.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Die Hard.
Yeah. That's like he's right. Like, I can give you Superman, and like, I don't care about Superman. He's like, well, he's the son of Jor-El. I can give you the son of Jor-El. They're like, ooh, the son of our jailer.
Yes. And so they don't know that. They just they're in Superman. They don't know he's Kryptonian at first.
Well, I guess he doesn't mention Superman yet. He just says, I can give you the son of Jor-El.
I can give you the son of Jor-El.
The son of our jailer?
And, they don't know Superman's Kryptonian.
They're like, who is this? And he's like, it's Superman. It's like, oh, that's the Superman we've been hearing about.
Like, we can get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gene Hackman. He's like, revenge.
Yes.
So now they're going to be in cohorts, and they talk a little bit. It's like, I don't really want anything, but I get, I love just a little bit of land.
Yeah, he's like,
just like Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, he's like, I have an affinity for beachfront property. So, Australia?
And what are the Kryptonians going to do with Australia?
So they agree that, Lex will get Australia.
I love how when he says it too, he gives the Nixon sign.
Yes.
He's got a cigar. He's like, Australia.
Yeah, he's smoking one of the president's cigars.
Smart man.
Mm-hmm.
Probably good cigars. So we cut back to Superman, or really Clark, because he doesn't have powers at the moment. He's not Superman. He's got a long walk. And he's just wearing a little light jacket, and he's walking through the snow up to the Fortress of Solitude.
Yep, and he climbs up in there.
Right. And then he gets there. He's like, I failed, Father.
Yeah, he walks up to the console that's all burned out and exploded. He's like, Father, I failed. And he's calling out to Jor-El, and there's no answer. And then that green crystal that formed the fortress starts glowing. And he picks it up, puts it in the console, and then Jor-El appears. And, Jor-El explains, "Oh, son, I've wanted to teach you a lesson, basically, that there will be consequences if you make the wrong decisions. And so if you are truly wanting your powers back, there's one way that you can get them back. I'll use all of the energy that I have left to bestow you with your powers again, but the result of that will be you can no longer call upon me. I will not be able to be around.
Mother.
So Jor-El comes up and he touches Clark on the shoulder, and all of a sudden Clark just gets all of his powers back, and then Jor-El disappears forever.
Now he's no longer Superman the Gray.
Now he is Superman the White.
The White.
So Clark, now Superman again, he's upset that he can never speak to his father again, because he just used the rest of his energy to give him his powers back. And basically, Jor-El is dead again. Or at least the projection of Jor-El is dead.
Yes, Jor-El was dead.
Yeah, Jor-El was dead a long time ago on Krypton.
But this intelligence that's left over within this projection is now
yes. Dead. What he had bestowed in the crystals is now gone. And so, Clark leaves again, and before he leaves the fortress for good, he turns around and blasts it with his heat vision and blows it up. He destroys the fortress. Because he has allowed Lex Luthor to get in there. He should not have gotten in there. And so
he does not need him back there.
Safer if it just doesn't exist anymore. So he blows up the fortress, and then also just because, it's got a lot of bad memories now for him, and there's no real purpose for him to go back anymore. So at this point, Lex has taken Zod, Ursa, and Non to the Daily Planet because he knows that if they take Lois Lane, Lois is Clark's go-to reporter.
Yeah, she's the one that knows the most about Superman. Mm-hmm. We need, so that's where they take him, right?
So he's like, well, if you take her, then Superman's not going to be far behind.
Yep, and they're confused at first, right? They don't like that they're seeing some weak woman in their eyes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's Lois, Jimmy, and Perry White. They're all in Perry's office.
Yes.
And Jimmy actually gets brave, and he tries to defend Lois.
He does.
And, but they quickly swat him away. And, Perry steps in, and he's trying to defend her, and Zod picks him up. Or was it Non that picks him up?
Non.
Yeah, Non picks him up, puts his head through the drop ceiling panel above his head, and knocks him out.
Man, I hope it's not asbestos up there.
Yeah, it is. There's plenty of asbestos up there. This is the 70s.
He's going to be calling someone about mesothelioma. It's COPD.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
so they threaten to kill Lex again because he's brought them to Lois, and they wanted to. They thought he was going to take her. They thought that he was going to take them to Superman, and so they threatened to kill Lex again.
And Superman's not there.
It's like, wait, no. If you take her, then he will follow. And then before they can kill Lex, then Superman appears outside the window because they had torn out like the wall that had, the wall behind Perry's office, behind his desk. So there's a big hole in the side of the building.
There's just a big gaping hole,
and
he just shows up there, and Lex is like, "Oh, thank God!"
Yeah. So she shows up. He's like, "General Zod, would you like to step outside?"
Step into the principal's office.
And so Zod, Ursa, and Non, fly outside.
Take a step outside
so that they can fight Superman.
So, this is where I think things get interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Metropolis.
Yes.
But they lean so heavily on very iconic scenes of New York.
Yeah.
So which at the time, Empire State Building obviously is in there.
Statue of Liberty
would have been the Twin Towers and the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So very, very prominently. And so it's like, oh, it's New York, and it's hard to think of it as being Metropolis.
Yeah. But, they do it. So in this fight, it's more or less, the same story beats, the same beats in this fight that are in the Lester version also. But the Lester version also has, a few extra bits that are a little more comic relief kind of thing.
Yeah. So you get a guy, they're using their super breath, and the guy's toupee goes flying off. Yeah.
Little beats like that here and there in the Lester version that aren't in the Donner cut. All right. But more or less, it's the same major, the major parts of the fight are the same.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, just and introduces a little bit of slapstick.
Yeah. So they learn pretty early on in the fight that Superman cares more about the people than he does about himself, about the innocent people.
It's just supposedly his weakness.
Yes. So because they are fighting and they knock the tower off of the top of the Empire State Building, and it falls, it starts falling, and Superman swoops down and grabs it before it can crush people. Because he had knocked Non into it, and he had punched Non, and Non flew over and hit the tower on top of the Empire State Building, and it fell over. So he picks it up and puts it right back down, right on top of Non to try to pin him down, which would not work because with the ease that Superman picked that thing up, there's no way that it would hold Non down. He'd be able to pick it up just the same. So,
yes,
I never understood that part because he just rested on top. Non could easily just push it over, and it would fall again.
Should have just put a Kryptonian, piece of Krypton on there, some kryptonite on the spire, right, and just calm down. And could have done a whole.
At this point, the only kryptonite that they know of is that piece of kryptonite that Lex put around Superman's neck in the first movie,
which got lost.
Which then got lost. It fell down in the sewers. So
anyhow, they're going to use this against him, and they basically threaten they crash this bus.
And
by the way, all during the scene, there is a product endorsement all over this.
Yes.
There's JVC. There's Coke.
Yes. Zod gets thrown right into a giant neon sign for Coca-Cola.
There's other ones too, but it's kind of like
I mean, it's basically Times Square.
It's Times Square, yes, exactly. So anyway.
Yeah, so they crash this bus with a lot of people on it. They use their heat vision to try to blow up a semi truck, by shooting its gas tank. But Superman stops that one. He uses freeze breath to cool it down. He's able to stop the bus from crashing into the building so hard that it'll kill people. So they all get out of there. So he's able to go around and, protect the people. At one point, one of them gets knocked through the torch on the Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
and breaks that. But they end up, overpowering him because of the bus. They send the bus hurtling toward a building, and he gets between the bus and the building, and it crashes him into the building. But he slowed it down enough to where people could survive the crash. But everybody thinks that he is dead. So, because, I mean, with everything that Superman's done between this movie and the last movie, why would a bus kill him? Unless it was made of kryptonite. I mean, come on.
Kryptonite bus.
But everybody's like, Superman's dead. And so Zod's like, oh, your hero is dead. I am your ruler now. Kneel before Zod. And then Superman gets up. And everybody's like, oh, he's alive. And then he flies off. And they're like, Superman just left.
He just left.
Screw him. Forget him.
That's very New York. Screw him.
It's like, forget him. Superman's a wimp. So, of course, Zod, Ursa, and Non see him fly away, and they think that he's just fleeing. So, oh, look, we beat him. He's not going to be back. And so they go back to finish the job with Lex.
At the Daily Planet.
Yeah. They go back to finish killing Lex. And he's like, oh, wait, no, I can take you to where he is. I know where he went. So I guess he hasn't destroyed the fortress yet. That comes later. He hasn't destroyed the fortress yet because there's still a big set piece there. So Lex is like, hey, I can tell you where he went, but it'll cost you.
But I need you to give me Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need Cuba.
They could take care of Fidel.
Yeah. So then we have Zod, Ursa, and Non flying to the North Pole and Ursa and Non have Lex and Lois on their backs. Now, wouldn't it make more sense for Ursa to be carrying Lois and Non to be carrying Lex? That's not how they do it. No. Non is carrying Lois and Ursa is carrying Lex on their backs. They're laying down on their backs. So basically, it looks like Lex is trying to hump Ursa. Maybe they did that because this movie was made in the 70s and, Lex flying on Non's back might look a little gay and they wouldn't want that in the movie.
Yeah, but Nate, the astronaut, joked about, being married to Boris, the cosmonaut, earlier in the movie.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny with,
yeah,
Non is carrying Lois and Ursa is carrying Lex. Anyway, they get to the fortress.
They get to the fortress.
They get to the fortress and they find Superman there. And he has been waiting for them. And now here, this confrontation here is way different between the two versions. It's way different. It's a lot longer in the Lester version.
Yes.
There's not really a whole lot of, a fight in the Donner cut.
Which I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
But so first off, in the Lester version, there's this fight between Superman and the three criminals that include things like new powers that Superman apparently has, or maybe it's just what the fortress allows to happen, to where basically he duplicates himself. So it's basically like a hologram in front of each of them.
Yeah, it's out there, and like the logic of it doesn't make sense with most of the tone of the rest of the movie.
And at one point, that minor inconvenience comes about when Non starts flying towards Superman, and he reaches up to his chest and grabs the S, the Superman symbol on his chest, and pulls it off of his chest, and is this big cellophane S that he throws at Non, and it wraps him up, and he falls to the ground, and then it just disappears, and he gets right back up.
But then he gets out of it.
So it's like I love
that. I was mildly inconvenienced by that.
Yeah, it's like that Family Guy episode where they're talking about the giant cellophane S, and it has Non flying, and then he falls and it disappears. Like, oh, that was a minor inconvenience. And Superman's like, yeah, take that.
Anyway,
so that's the Lester version. In the Donner cut, it doesn't have any of that stuff. Instead, it goes more toward the end of what happens in the Lester version, because Lester just used the same footage from Donner for the most part here. But they land in there. They put Lex down next to Superman, and Superman, whispers to Lex. He's like, that right there is a molecule chamber. We need to get them inside, and then it'll take away their powers. And so Lex just turns around and tells Zod exactly what.
Get him in there.
Yeah. Tells him exactly what he just said. So yeah, that's a molecule chamber. Get him in there, get Superman in there, and he'll take away his powers. Then you can kill him. And so Superman's like, Lex Luthor, you snake.
You snake. You son of a... But
so...
Who wouldn't use that language? Anyway, anyhow, so...
So, they force Superman to get into the chamber.
And they're holding back Lois while it's happening. And
yeah.
Lex is watching
Ursa is holding Lois. And... So Lex is like, oh, those crystals control it. So, Zod sends them up to what's left of the console. And he, puts a crystal in there.
Activates it.
And it activates. And then, the red light comes on.
But it's this time.
And it shows Superman inside, and he's like cringing like he was before.
But outside of the chamber, in the rest of the fortress, it glows red.
Well, it was doing that earlier, too. The whole place glowed red earlier, too.
Did it? That's right. Yeah. You're right.
Maybe, I think in the Lester version, I don't think it did. I think it was just inside the chamber in the Lester version, but in the Donner cut, everything was red.
But it completes.
But yeah. It completes. He comes out. He sort of stumbles out a little bit,
He sells it.
Mm-hmm. And then Zod calls him over, tells him to kneel before Zod. And so he walks up, he sort of stumbles up to Zod, and he, gets down on one knee. And then Zod puts his hand out. He's like, take my hand. And so Superman grabs his hand and then squeezes it. And you hear the cracking.
And then
Zod's like,
just crushes his entire hand. Like, yeah. You just get this look on his face, like, oh!
Mm-hmm. And then Superman stands up, grabs Zod by the belt buckle, and lifts him up over his head. Then tosses him
into a fissure.
He throws him into a fissure. A bottomless fissure, apparently.
That fissure wasn't there before.
It wasn't.
No, there's a lot of bottomless fissures in the fortress.
There are a lot of bottomless fissures in the fortress.
Hey.
And they're smoky,
too. There's a bottomless fissure in Last Crusade.
Yes. Maybe it's the same bottomless fissure. Maybe this one's connected to the one in the Middle East.
Maybe they end up meeting Miss Allison Duty.
Yes, maybe they are falling with Elsa.
You can go back and listen to our Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade episode.
Yep. So Zod, he's falling forever down this fissure. And then Non starts, he tries to fly over to Superman. He puts his arms out and leans forward and realizes he can't fly, and he just falls down the fissure.
Oh, Tim. Sorry, Tim.
And then
you're Non.
Ursa, who is still holding on to Lois. Lois sees all this happening, and she realizes she can overpower Ursa now. So Ursa has her hand around Lois's neck, right? So Lois kind of turns around and she's like, you're a real pain in the neck, and punches her in the face, and then Ursa falls into the fissure.
And there's a fissure there.
There's fissures all over the place. You would think that somewhere that Superman would spend his free time would have solid floors. No, there are fissures all over the fortress. It might as well just be called the Fissure of Solitude. Any
fissures. These are bottomless.
Yes, these are bottomless fissures that have a mist that come up from them, like this fog. And yeah, so it should just be called the Fissure of Solitude.
Well, would that be? So, not gonna think too hard about that one. We'll leave that alone.
So then Lex was like, so the lights were on out here while he was safe in there. Good thinking.
I knew it all along. That was part of my plan.
Mm-hmm. Sure it was, Lex. So they leave the fortress. This is when Superman turns around and blasts the fortress with his heat vision to destroy it.
Yes.
Because it's not safe to keep it how it is if, bad guys can get into it. And so he takes Lex back to prison. And he takes Lois home. Back to that gigantic balcony from the first movie.
That's right. He goes back to the gigantic balcony.
And
sets her down gently.
Mm-hmm. Sets her down gently.
They talk. They swoon.
Mm-hmm.
There's no catharsis at this point.
No. There's no catharsis at this point. But Lois is so glad that she knows his secret.
His secret. Yes.
And then Superman does something extreme. So in the Lester version,
extreme.
So in the Lester version, he has another
he kisses her.
Strange superpower that he's never had before, and he kisses her, and it is a kiss of forgetfulness. Once he kisses her, then she forgets everything about him being Clark Kent. Very conveniently.
Which, okay. And where does that come from?
Yeah.
Exactly. That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
You have to establish this power somehow. And it's not like a neuralizer where you get introduced cold into it and you just accept it as this technology within this world.
Yeah.
That it erases memory.
No.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden
if you already established someone's powers and all of a sudden they develop some new one, but you need to be able to explain how that comes about.
Yes. Oh, and by the way,
and memory erasing kiss.
Yeah. So also, what we failed to mention before was, so we did mention in the Donner cut that, they reach emotional catharsis before he gives up his powers. In the Lester version, they do that after he gives up his powers. Where then there's
far better placement in the Donner cut.
Yes, far better placement in the Donner cut, especially if with I mean, don't want to really spoil anything for Superman Returns, but Superman Returns, there's definitely a plot point that works a lot better with the Donner cut than it does with the Lester cut.
Yes.
So.
Involving... Anyway, we won't get there because
we
might not have seen Superman Returns. Maybe we'll do Superman Returns.
Cover it someday. We did see that one together in the theater.
I wouldn't mind doing that one because it's kind of the forgotten one now.
Same here.
Which is a shame because it's actually the better of any of the recent ones.
Yeah. So
anyhow.
Yeah, we may get to it someday. In fact, we probably will at some point.
Will.
But anyway, so yeah, in the Lester version, there's a kiss of forgetfulness. In the Donner cut, Superman flies up and he flies around the Earth backwards to reverse time, just like he did in the first movie. Now, the reason why...
Scientifically, that might not make sense, but at least, you know what? You can suspend your belief to think that he can fly fast enough to do it.
Yes. So... I know everybody may be thinking that, this is just a rehash of the ending of the first one. In reality, this was the original ending of Superman 2.
Yes.
It was not the ending for Superman 1 originally.
Correct.
Since they were filming both movies at the same time, they had done this for 2, and then they were trying to figure out a way to end the first one, and Donner decided, well, I'm going to take that ending from 2 and put it in with 1 instead. And so that is why we have it at the end of 1 and 2.
They're both.
Because then when they were going back to do the Donner cut, they hadn't filmed a separate ending with Donner for the second one, so they just used the original ending.
But this still fits better than just a magic kiss.
Yes. Still fits better than a magic kiss. Especially since we had established in the first movie that he can do that. He can fly fast enough to turn the world backwards.
Which in some ways, it still kind of corrects some of his mistakes.
Yes, it does. It corrects some of them, but it doesn't seem to change everything. There's there's not a big hole in the side of the Daily Planet anymore. All the destruction in Metropolis is no longer.
You see the Empire State Building be intact again, and the torch on the Statue of Liberty is there, right?
It starts out when Perry White is going to brush his teeth before he goes to bed.
That's right. Yes,
and he's holding the toothpaste over the toothbrush, and
he's squeezing out. It's big
drip
down from the tube.
It's going in slow motion, high up there above the toothbrush. He puts a lot of toothpaste on there, so you see this string of toothpaste coming out, and then it stops, and then it starts going back up into the tube.
Goes back up. Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool shot. But anyway, so takes it back to before any of the criminals got there, because it puts them back in the Phantom Zone.
Puts them back in the Phantom Zone.
Puts them back in the Phantom Zone. So it makes it so they never came to Earth.
Yep. And so those astronauts actually live.
Yeah, and that would be great, because then the fortress would still be around, Jor-El would still be there, all that, because none of that would have happened. But there are still things that still happened. Namely, after he's done going back, then Clark Kent returns to that diner.
He returns to the diner.
Everybody there recognizes him.
And we do get to see him before he goes to the diner. He's back in the Daily Planet. And it's like that scene in the beginning where she's with a newspaper article.
Yeah. And she's looking.
He changes his entrance. And so now she gets distracted and doesn't start to think about the connection.
She does kind of think about it. She's like, he kind of looks like Superman. Nah.
That's right. She does say that.
Nah. So.
And it switches. So.
Yeah. So then he goes up to the diner. And that trucker is there again. He's there. And everybody recognizes Clark as the guy that got beat up. So if he changed the past, then that never would have happened.
Yes.
But, for the purposes of the movie, that at least still happened.
Because this has probably only been a few days. Hasn't been that long. Maybe a week.
So,
and then we remember, the guy getting beat up.
Yeah, so he walks up to the guy and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, I believe you're sitting in my seat." And the guy turns and he recognizes him. He's like, "Oh, you're back for seconds, huh?" And, Clark sits him back down on a stool,
spins him on the
spins
stool.
it around so the stool like raises up and he gets all dizzy. And Clark picks him up, puts him down on top of his plate of food, on top of his steak and eggs. And then he's like, he looks at the people behind the counter. He's like, "Order up." And he pushes him and he slides across the bar.
So it's all the way
across the counter.
And he flies off.
And he flies off the end of the counter and lands on a pinball machine. And the pinball alarms are going off and all that. And then Clark just pulls out a wad of cash. It's like all fanned out like cards. He's like, "Sorry for the damages."
I mean, they need a new pinball machine.
Yeah, so this was where, he left. He went there because Lois wanted pizza. She was going to go halvesies with him on a pizza. And so he decided he's going to go pick up the pizza.
That's right.
And he's like, "Lois,
that's right.
I'll cover the cost of the pizza."
That scene. Yes.
And so he left, and so when he left the planet to go get pizza, that's when he went to the diner.
He just ran up or flew up to the diner.
Mm-hmm. And so
he's going to fly back down, hopefully with the pizza.
I love it after he hands the money to the worker there, the server. Then he's like, "Oh, he raises his hands a little bit, working out."
Puts him up. He raises the roof.
So
that's the end of the movie.
Then you would imagine that he would go back with a pizza. But no, it just shows Earth from space, just like the end of the first one where he comes flying up and looks at the camera.
Yep.
He's flying by, looks at the camera, smiles. And then the credits roll.
That's it.
That's Superman 2, the Richard
We have to wait
Donner
for
cut.
Superman 3. The one with Richard Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's I really enjoyed
O'Toole
watching
was in Superman 3 also.
the kids and so great. Terrific follow up to Superman 1, or Superman the movie, I should say.
Absolutely,
so,
I love this movie.
And has he looking
Both
forward to
versions
this
of it.
Superman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
and it's old because Christopher Reeve is great, right? Margot Kidder is great. Gene Hackman's great. Terrence Stamp is great. And the rest of the cast is great.
Yeah.
It's if you haven't seen any of these original Superman movies, you really should do so because they were
absolutely
definitely at the beginning of the blockbuster era, and they really helped solidify that blockbuster. They helped solidify blockbusters and superhero movies.
Yes. Especially the first two.
They're worth checking out.
If you haven't seen the first two Superman movies, especially watch those two. You can skip 3 and 4 if you want to, especially 4. 3, I would recommend watching 3. It's a fun watch. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as the first 2, but it's still a fun watch. 4 is just bad. So
bad. Bad in bold letters. It's bad.
Yeah. 3 is still watchable. It's just fun. Don't take 3 too seriously at all. But yeah, at least watch 1 and 2. Those are amazing movies. I love those movies. Whichever version of 2 you want to watch, both are amazing.
Absolutely.
Both are awesome. But yeah, I do slightly prefer the Donner version over the.
As do I.
Maybe a little bit more than slightly, but I do prefer the Donner version. Better.
But, and again, they're largely the same, but there are key differences.
Yes. So, yeah, and John Williams score, once again, he nails it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like prime John Williams.
Yeah.
So. It makes sense.
So anyway, anything that we missed that comes to mind?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So if you enjoy what you're hearing and you want to experience more of what we have to offer, go ahead and check us out on our social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. It is Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out. It's not an ampersand like it is in the name of the podcast. But we are also on X or Twitter. It is R&T Cinematic. And we are also on Letterboxd if you want to check out our movie reviews for various movies that we've seen. Some we have done on the podcast, some we haven't done, some we will do, some we won't do. But you can check that out on our Letterboxd. It is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, CINE Adventure. And send us an email. Let us know what you thought of Superman 2. Did you prefer the Donner cut to the Lester version? Or did you prefer the Lester version? What are your thoughts? We want to know what you liked, what you didn't like, all that. We want to hear from you. So you can send us an email at robandtonycinematicadventure@gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. It's not an ampersand like it is in the name of the podcast. So, yeah. Reach out to us if there's, do you want us to do other superhero movies? Do you want us to do the rest of the Superman movies?
Yes.
What kind of movies would you like to hear us talk about? We want to do things that you want to hear. We want to talk about movies that are going to be pleasing to your ears. And, if you enjoy what you're hearing, then go to your favorite podcast app, wherever you're listening to us, and give us a good rating, a good review. That's how we move up in the standings and the search and the recommendations, all that stuff. And go to our social media, give us a like and a follow. Show us some love. And, we want to be able to provide content that you're going to want to listen to. And so next time, the reason we chose this movie when we did was not only because, summer blockbusters, but also because the new Superman movie is coming out.
Very excited for this.
So James Gunn's Superman, one of the early entries in the new DCU. And so we wanted to do Superman 2 to sort of prepare everyone for Superman, for David Corenswit's Superman. And we covered a David Corenswit movie before when we did Twisters. But we are going to be talking about, of course, Superman next. So the next movie that we will talk about is the Superman movie that is just about to, at the time of this recording, just about to come out in theaters. So it will still be in theaters when the episode comes out. So we always like to do that, when we can, especially during these summer blockbusters, do a movie that's still in theaters so you have a chance to go and see it and then come and listen to us talk about it and all of that while it's still out. But yeah, so obviously we haven't seen the new Superman movie yet, so we don't know if it's going to be any good or not. It looks like it's going to be great. It definitely looks like I'm going to be enjoying it. And I've been impressed with James Gunn's movies before, and especially his superhero movies that he's worked on with Marvel. So I'm really looking forward to this Superman movie. So you can join us next time for Superman.